Have you ever been playing your favorite From Software title and thought to yourself, wouldn't it be rad if I could do this, but riding a pig? Don't worry, friends. I have just the solution. How's it going, everybody? My name is Dylon57, and welcome back to another epic video. Bloodborne, legally distinct and thematically original, Nightmare Kart, is a free-to-play kart racing game available on Steam, and a friend suggested I give it a try. Being a fan of Bloodborne and the eldritch horror themes therein, Nightmare Kart automatically seemed like it would be up my alley. Before we start, I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers. If you like my videos and want to see what else I plan to make in the future, hit the subscribe button. It's free, and it really helps your boy out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the analysis. Firstly, I have to give a massive compliment to the team that did the music for this game. The music makes you want to do one of these. It manages to perfectly capture the feeling of this game. Fast-paced, intense, and wacky. I also love how the intro splash screen fades out after a couple of minutes to show an AI point of view race. It taps into my nostalgia from when I was a kid, when I would turn on my N64 to play my favorite kart racer, Diddy Kong Racing. But I would forget that I had Hot Pockets in the microwave, and when I come back to the game, it would ask me to press start.
Nightmare Kart.
After you press start, it brings you to a plain screen, cycling through different playable characters, and it presents you with the option to play the campaign mode or free play. As I do with most games, I immediately went into the settings to see which options are available, and the graphic settings for this game are intense. There are so many settings just dedicated to the faux CRT effects, I was a little overwhelmed. I could see someone going in and having fun messing with all these settings though, and I'm glad that it's available as an option in the game, as opposed to kind of just locking you into a certain aesthetic. I would assume there are some people out there who would take issue with the default look and feel of the game, but as an old game enjoyer, I'm personally a huge fan. I really love that they have affine texture mapping. It's one of my favorites, even if it does cause what I would assume to be unintentional artifacting on certain tracks. Before my first playthrough, I almost changed the frame rate, but I wasn't sure if this game's physics and AI are FPS dependent. After how much time I put into speedrunning Doom and various other games that are frame rate dependent, I thought it would be safest to leave it alone, opting for the default 30 FPS experience. After taking a look at the controls for the game, taking a pit stop to see if the obvious meme was programmed in, and checking the accessibility settings, I jumped into the campaign. Quick disclaimer. It is so painfully obvious that this is an almost one-to-one ripoff of Bloodborne with its characters and themes. I'm going to do my absolute best to limit my comparisons between the two games and evaluate it as a standalone product, but I mean, come on. There's only so much a guy can do. An ominous fog rolls in over dilapidated bricks as you're greeted by three dream watchers. Little fellas, with proportionally giant eyeballs for heads. You have found yourself visiting the city of Miralodia, a fact that the watchers seem none too concerned with. You are presented with a contract. Signing something given to me by an apparition with no discernible text has never really hurt me before, so why not? Next, it asks me to select my gender-neutral voice 1 or 2, and then prompts me to select my starting vehicle. Because I haven't played the game before up until this point, and I don't know what these stats are supposed to represent, I pick what I assume would be the default option, the Hunter Kart. Feeling drowsy, I drift off to sleep, feeling confident that I won't have my toes sucked by my new ophthalmological themed buddies.
And so, the nightmare begins again.
You are initially dropped into a test track, where the watchers help you learn the basic controls of the game. I'm playing on a PS5 controller, so it takes a second to figure out the buttons, but it's easy enough. Upon fact-checking for the video, you can change the options in the settings to where it will show the right button layout, but I missed it while I was recording my first playthrough. I'm not sure if there's a way to auto-detect which controller you're using, but having the option to change it is nice regardless. You have the typical controls you would have in any other kart racing game. Hold A to accelerate, left bumper to initiate a drift, and right bumper to use equipment. You have a health bar and a stamina bar, a square for your current equipped item, and these Aether Vials. Aether Vials are used to give your character a short, quick boost in speed, and if you are in a damaged state, you can boost to quickly recover and get back up to full speed. You consume 5 every time you boost. Holding A and B at the same time will power brake, giving you the ability to make really sharp turns, and you can also use it at the beginning of a race to get a speed boost coming out of the gate. You're going to be using this a lot while you play the game. The typical turning radius of the vehicles is really wide and floaty, so you may even use this to make some normal turns on certain courses, as well as using it to line up shots in some of the battle arenas. Pressing LB after hitting a ramp, indicated by the white and bluish ethereal glowing bits, will do a trick and give you some Aether Vials. You will quickly get into the habit of doing this, as having a boost ready is pretty critical to succeeding in races, and even in arenas, so you can boost out of damage. Naturally, as any good kart racer should, there are item pickups that you can drive through, and you'll be given a random power-up. You can get pistols, shotguns, mines, healing items, Aether Vials, etc. Weapons will auto-lock on to enemies, and if you're holding, let's say, a shotgun, and you roll the same pickup while you still have a shotgun equipped, it will effectively reload the item. There are PvE mobs on the course that are worth killing because they give you a resource called blood droplets. These blood droplets work effectively like coins do in a game like Mario Kart, where they'll increase your max speed, indicated by the red cross on your speedometer. You can use the triggers to turn your camera, but I found this to not be super useful other than occasionally looking behind me. Suddenly, you crash. The hunter awakes to a misty dream, surrounded by a host of peculiar characters. At this point, we're dipping into spoiler territory. While this game's story is not dripping with substance, you have been warned. I save my game in the cool memory card style save slot system and continue on into the dream.
Aha! You must be the new participant. I am Herman, and this is Onette, my animated servant who tends to my every need. You must be confused, but try not to think too hard about all this. just go out and win a few races, and it'll all be over before you know it.
Pocket Dream Circuit.
Affine texture mapping. Chef's kiss. And that announcer line? Man, I love the aesthetics of this game. It looks like shit, but in the best possible way. It takes me back to the days when I didn't have a PlayStation, but my cousin did, so I would find excuses to go over there so we could take turns playing Spyro and Gex. I know I have already talked about the look of the game, and I will limit my drooling over it as much as I can, but this has managed to be one of the best modern games I personally have seen that captures that old school feeling but with modern mechanics. A lot of games that claim to be old school or retro are just low poly modern games with shaders and or filters. To be fair, this is also one of those, but it does it in this really authentic way that I can't get enough of. The first race feels really well paced as far as getting the player started. The course is a simple oval and it lets you stretch your legs and test your limits. Something to note is that when a character takes damage, they have a brief window of invulnerability. I immediately thought that this was an excellent way to prevent you from getting insta-gibbed and would be great for balancing online or local multiplayer, when/if that's a thing. I place first easily enough, and I'm shown an ending screen. You're given a brief breakdown of the placements, your lap times, and you collect blood droplets and insight as a resource. I also unlocked a cool sword. It was never really made clear what the blood droplets and insight do outside of a race, but I'm basically just going to chalk this up as something that's a work in progress.
After learning the rules of the road, the hunter embarks on their journey through the city of Miralodia in search of answers. A fellow outsider, one who claims to have vast knowledge of the cursed city and its inhabitants, beckons through the hazy pane of a dimly lit window and warns that the hunt is on tonight and that the first race is soon to begin.
We now have a button that allows us to select a melee weapon. During my experience playing the game, I didn't notice a big difference between them. You'll notice me switch between them throughout the video just to test them out, but unless I'm missing something, they seem to be functionally the same. Let me know in the comment section.
Miralodia Expressway.
While you're still getting used to the inputs, the kart feels kind of bad to control. Like I briefly described earlier, the steering feels really floaty and unresponsive on the basic kart. Over time it got easier because I could gauge when I needed to turn more easily, but even then it still felt weird. The kart had a higher handling score than the motorcycle option you could have chosen, but I never really got around to trying that one, so I wonder if my experience would have changed. I didn't see any explanation of how the vehicle statistics impact gameplay, but in the game's defense, kart racers usually don't tell you. You kind of just have to figure it out.
With their first taste of victory, the hunter sets their sights on the Miralodia underground and descends into the grimy abyss.
Miralodian Sewer Arena.
Team Bloodbath.
This is our first foray into the battle maps in the game. When I first jumped in, it felt very chaotic, and I wasn't entirely sure what to do at first, but after some trial and error, I figured it out. I could see this game mode being really fun in multiplayer, with the general chaotic but fair mechanics. I'm kind of glad that this first encounter wasn't programmed to kick my shit in, but it did feel like it was over way too quickly. I think I would prefer it if this game mode and similar modes were not timed. It ended up leaving me feeling like I didn't really win so much as run down the timer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Match over.
The hunter emerges from their scrape in the cesspit and steals into the Angel Graveyard, grounds located on the city outskirts named after great beings of worship. There, in the shadow of Miralodia's towering visage, they encounter a blood-splattered hunter atop a roaring motorcycle. The merciless Father Gregory bears his hunter axe and launches into battle.
Can you hear them? The snarls of filthy beasts. Beasts who must be hunted. Beasts who must be slaughtered. It's only a matter of time until you become one.
This is the first boss fight of the game, and I gotta tell you, they really nailed the feeling in these cutscenes. It really does feel like you're stepping into a boss door in Bloodborne. The fight itself is pretty simple. Take the knowledge that we've gathered so far and apply it to kill the big bad. First, chasing down Greg, and then fighting him in a battle-style arena. During the fight, I had my first instance of being stuck in the terrain. I can forgive some lack of polish in a free-to-play game that was crowdfunded, but I do hope they can go back through the levels and double check some things. The fight itself was pretty easy. I found myself mostly just power braking in place and aiming so I could hit Greg. Having bested Father Gregory, the hunter becomes privy to a shred of insight. Their newfound knowledge illuminates the path forward. The truth of this nightmare, and the means to escape it, lies in the old clock tower just beyond a fetid den of slithering serpents. The Forbidden Forest. You now have the option to select a different cart. I didn't end up changing carts here, but I think it's really cool that you get the option to change carts as you unlock them. It gives you a feeling of progression as you're playing. I experiment more later with the carts, but for now,
We enter
Forbidden Forest.
this track definitely upped the difficulty from a mechanical standpoint, but didn't feel too difficult overall. I learned that you can miss a jump from a boost pad, which feels bad. I'm not sure exactly what killed my upward momentum, and it left me feeling like missing the jump wasn't really my fault per se. Also, some of the monster and NPC audio was really loud compared to the rest of the ambient audio. Not really a huge deal, but it was really jarring the first time I heard it. It almost made me jump. Regardless, I won the race easily enough.
lost deep in the forest. The hunter aimlessly roams. In their fear, they make a dreadful revelation. The serpents have started to speak.
What's this? A lonely hunter lost in the woods. Trying to get to the old clock tower, are you? Lost little hunter thinks knowledge will be found therein. Rummaging around that decrepit old tower will only upset her. Oh, yes, and we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't be able to have any fun with you if you go off and get killed by her now, would we? How about a little game? Defeat the three of us, and we'll show you the way.
Forbidden Forest Arena.
Capture the insight.
Capture the Insight is a basic capture the flag mode where you have to pick up the glowing eye from the center of the arena and bring it back to the goal. If you take damage, you drop the orb and it can be captured by another player, or it gets sent back to the center to be captured again. This is the first time I had to reset in order to win the round. It wasn't specifically difficult or anything, there are just so many things that can damage you and make you drop the eye that you end up having to go back for it a lot to make a goal. Like I said earlier, not having a timer so you could actually win would be nice. I did discover there is a sudden death mode you enter if both sides are tied when the timer ends, so that was pretty cool.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Match over.
The Matilda sisters, having been defeated, lead the way to the Great Clock Tower, a citadel housing the secrets of Hunter's past. Unbeknownst to the hunter, a strangely familiar figure lies in wait. You get to ride the pig. The freaking pig, dude. Hell yeah. I saddled up my porcine steed and ventured forth into the clock tower.
Some knowledge should be left forgotten. Oh, I know very well. The sweet sounds of secrets whispered in your ear. There is only one cure for a hunter as intoxicated as yourself.
This level looks so awesome. I love the concept of climbing up the tower in a seemingly infinite loop. The field with a tree in it is a little on the nose, but what hasn't been in this game so far? Mid-fight, we have another bit of exposition from the Puss in Boots lady.
I see now. You are one of Heaven's pawns. That wretched old man would rather dance with a demon than accept reality. This angelic knowledge you seek, it is doomed to lead you to madness, like a thief or Nicholas. Die now.
Only then to be anticlimactically yeeted too short on a boost and sent all the way back down the tower. Again, not sure why it happened. I ended up being so far behind that I had to restart the level, but me and Babe from the 1998 hit film Babe, Pig in the City managed to clutch out a win for the boys.
Nicholas. The name echoes in the hunter's mind. The angelic knowledge that the mistress spoke of. Perhaps this Nicholas could unlock the answers to this nightmare. Armed with this information, the hunter begins their return journey to the city of Miralodia to find him. Although the trip will be fraught with danger, a friendly face soothes the nerves.
Oh, what do we have here? A hunter conscripted against their will. How amusing, with that arm of yours. Trying to make your way back into Miralodia proper. Be warned, as the city sinks deeper into the darkest umbra of the night, the beast within will offer no quarter. But enough talk. Take this. You will not be able to re-enter without a proper fight.
Angel Arena.
In this battle, you're given a pistol that uses Aether as ammo, and this is probably my favorite of the battle levels. Instead of worrying about pickups and cycling through them, you get to shoot people and do the occasional sick 360 jump to gain ammo. I do wish that the difficulty would have ramped up here, especially because the focus was so heavily placed on the combat. Either way, another map cleared.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Match over.
The hunter parts ways with the raven and returns to central Miralodia as the darkness of night seeps into every corner of the cursed city. The search for Nicholas will have to wait. There are beasts that need to be culled. The perfect job for a hunter.
Central Miralodian Courtyard.
The hunt.
This level was entirely unremarkable.
Kill monster. Win game.
This level could have not existed and it would have been fine.
The hunter seeks out the ever-helpful outsider, whose knowledge of the cursed city could help them locate Nicholas. But the pane of his window is dark, and inside his abode lurks abominations of the night.
Outsider's Mansion.
I really like this map. It reminded me of the Baby Park map from Mario Kart Double Dash, but with more verticality. It was cool how they designed a short track with more than the standard 3 laps without it just being an oval and giving it some depth. Other than that, this was one of the closer races that I had during my playthrough, probably due to the course being so small overall. I feel like the plot gets a little lost here though. I can kind of forgive the last level for being obvious filler, but this level tried to add a new character, but didn't? When I was actually in it and playing the game, I didn't even notice the inconsistency, so it's not like it affects the overall experience. When you boil it down, you were just mashing to get to the next race anyway.
After consulting the Outsider's directory, the hunter travels to Miralodia College, where Nicholas is said to dwell. What they find within may only raise more questions.
Ah, yes, the architect. Do you not hear our pleas? No, we should not awaken from this nightmare. You cannot stop us. You cannot catch us.
The encounter with Nicholas is probably the coolest part of the game. The thought of putting the Mikolash fight into a kart racer is a stroke of genius. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually what the whole idea of the game was based off of, but I digress. It took me a second to figure out how to manipulate his AI and get to where I needed to get, but that's also how it felt to fight Mikolash in Bloodborne. The actual fight part is simple enough. You just hit him with the gat until he does his phase transition. The ending sequence where you travel on the bridges and Nicholas is jumping through the mirrors was a cinematic treat. Eventually you grab the power-up suspended in air mid-jump and hit him with the final blow.
This cannot be happening! The nightmare mustn't end! Lest...
Having bested the Keeper of the Nightmare, the hunter returns to the Misty Dream, seeking answers about the Architect from the beings that first initiated the hunter, only to find preparations underway for the final race as the false reality that is the dream begins to collapse.
Pocket Dream Course.
Once you've defeated Nicholas, you have unlocked the most overpowered cart in the game, the Birdcage. After switching to this cart, the game felt so much better mechanically. It lets you turn on a dime and the hitbox is really narrow so you can maneuver through terrain so much more easily. Pocket Dream Course is probably my least favorite course in the game. This track has a feast or famine balancing to it. If you manage to get into first place and you have enough of a lead, no one will ever catch up to you because you have first dibs on the mobs, i.e. the blood droplets to increase max speed. There are also no hazards really to speak of to get caught on, so once someone is ahead, they're kind of just ahead. After a couple of tries, I managed to beat the level.
As the night comes to a close, the hunter confronts Herman about the truth behind the dream and its architect. But the old man had something different in mind. Herman, alongside all the other participants encountered during the dream, gather for one final hunt, where only one hunter will remain standing.
Pocket Dreamfield!
Last hunter standing.
The final stage presents itself as a high-stakes battle royale, a winner-takes-all kind of encounter. But in practice, I never felt like I was really in any danger, and that seems to be a reoccurring theme throughout the game. You have the oppressive look and themes from Bloodborne, but none of the inherent difficulty typically associated with it. I'm not explicitly stating that this game needs to be as quote-unquote difficult as a FromSoft game, but even in a vacuum, the game is kind of easy. I'm not even sure how you would go about balancing this to make it more fun and engaging, without also making it feel unfair and cheesy because of the bad enemy AI. I think the framework is here for an incredibly unique combat system, but some dials need to be turned and play tested in order to fine-tune the difficulty curve and keep it engaging throughout. After the final confrontation, we're greeted with this.
Kind Hunter. Here we stand, at the end of this nightmare. The denizens of the dream, with their silly customs, have attempted to use you to further their own selfish goals. But your role in this is greater than anything you could have imagined. Kind Hunter, I offer you freedom. Freedom from this nightmare. Do you accept?
The truth has been revealed. The city of Miralodia, the race, the nightmare. It was all born from an ancient yearning to make contact with angels, cosmic beings beyond our understanding. Now, at the end of this terrible dream, Onett offers to free you from this nightmare. Do you accept?
What is your decision? Submit life or refuse? I chose what I would assume to be the default option and submitted life. I got hugged by Mommy Big Claw and Analog Horror jump scared to end the nightmare once and for all. waking up next to a well with a key to a cart in hand. Was it all really just a dream? Nightmare Kart. A dark, wacky, innovative kart racing game that honestly really surprised me with its level of quality for being a free-to-play game made by a small team as a sort of passion project. I know that I have expressed some criticisms towards the game, some of them negative, but regardless of how good something is, I think that anything is vulnerable to criticism, and being a person who also creates stuff, I appreciate constructive feedback. Honestly, the only thing holding this game back from being a wildly massive success, in my opinion, is more time in the oven, and that if they tried to commercialize it, they would probably have Miyazaki hand-deliver them a cease and desist letter. I checked out the other ending, but unless I'm missing something, it just seemed like a different cutscene. Also, editor Lon69 here, I did try New Game Plus, but it didn't really seem that much harder or different.
In the end, you were just another useless puppet. How disappointing. And so, the nightmare begins again.
I also played around with the cheats and unlocked the game developer's OC. If you made it to the end of the video and want to play this game for yourself, I 100% recommend leaving it on default graphic settings. I tried the game out with quote-unquote optimized settings, and it feels really weird. Probably just because I had only experienced it with the default settings, but either way, I digress. Have you played Nightmare Kart? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm still trying to hit 500 subscribers. So if you could smash that subscribe button and completely annihilate the like button, I would really, really appreciate it. If you've taken the time to watch the full video, thank you again so much for your time. I really, really, really appreciate it. This has been Dylon57, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.